But let's return to the cost of living situation over here, because the Chancellor is being urged to set out an emergency budget to help millions across the UK who are being plunged into poverty and hardship because of the cost of living crisis. The SNP MP, Alison Thewlis, has called on the Chancellor to help people with rising energy bills with a more generous grant.
Well, let's talk now to Vicky Pryce, Chief Economic Advisor for the Centre of Economic and Business Research, who joins us now. Vicky, everybody's calling, and even Tory MPs are now calling on Rishi Sunak to do something, maybe bring out an emergency budget. However, he only did a sort of statement a few days ago. Is he likely to do anything? And if so, what?
It's very interesting that what we've seen is that he's been attacked about his spring statement, as you said, from everyone. So whether it's Conservatives, whether it's Labour, whether it's the Lib Dems, whether it is consumer bodies, there is no doubt that the impact on households is going to be very significant over the next year, where we're talking about a cost of living crisis, which is one of the worst we've seen since the 1970s. And that's something which he cannot ignore, the Chancellor cannot ignore. And the expectation from the moment he sat down, actually, was that he was going to have to come and do more. So people will be struggling. Of course, we know from April 1st, household bills in terms of energy costs have gone up very significantly. People have had difficulty even, getting in touch with their electricity supplier, with their energy supplier, and registering the meters, what the reading was at the time when the increase happened, which was April 1st. And that's going to be a problem for many households. And there is a real worry that over 1 million households may, in fact, move into poverty as a result of this. And that's going to be something which I don't think the Chancellor is going to be able to ignore. So, yes, I think there will have to be more, and he will have to come back, whether it's an emergency budget or a series of more announcements like we've seen through the COVID crisis. It's not clear.
But he's going to have to prioritise one way or another, and it seems very difficult to understand how he might do that, Vicky. I mean, obviously there are those people who are absolutely at rock bottom financially who need immediate help, but then there's people like Chinder, who's emailed in this morning saying if you're earning between £20,000 to £30,000, there is no help, and we are struggling as well.
No, absolutely. I think it's not just the people at the lower end of the pay scale, but it's also the middle income earners, no doubt about that, where there isn't that help. For lower down the pay scale, of course, or people who are not at work, for example, as well, what you have seen is that benefits are going up more or less benefits are not going up with the rate of inflation, but minimum wage is going up 6.6%. Benefits are not, and that's the real issue. So although people at the lower end of the pay scale are getting some support, some extra support with their electricity bills and their gas bills, a lot of people at the higher end are not, and that's going to be an issue for them. And as I said, the minimum wage going up, yes, is fine, but loads of people are not at work, and they are not going to be helped either. So yes, you can talk about people at reasonable earnings who are going to suffer, but interesting thing about the whole situation now is that everyone is likely to suffer. Of course, at the lower end, one tends to spend more on food. It's not just electricity, but food prices are going up very significantly. The lower your pay is, the more of your income every week goes to food, and also, interestingly enough, fuel, not just fuel bills, but also transport. So petrol prices going up, for example, is also an issue. And yes, of course, we've seen this reduction in the fuel duty by 5p. But at the same time, of course, oil prices are still very high, and in fact, they may well get even higher over the next few months.
Yeah, it's interesting as well that politically, and you know a lot about the world of politics, politically, Rishi Sunak is quite prepared to make himself unpopular at the moment.
I don't think he expected to be so unpopular with that. I thought he thought that the previous package he had given, which is this help with the council tax reduction and the rebate in terms of energy bills, which is going to be coming pretty soon, is going to have been sufficient. So that costs the government about or the taxpayers actually, because obviously there is a move from one bit of the budget to another, £9 billion. Plus, of course, he has raised the threshold for paying national insurance contributions for employees quite significantly. It's now more or less the same as income tax threshold. And he thought that was sufficient. That's going to cost him an extra 6 billion as well. So he can argue that he's put quite a lot of money back into the pockets of people. But obviously that isn't going to be sufficient if your real incomes are still declining as substantially as they are. So we're talking about real incomes possibly this year going down from anywhere between 2.5% to 4%. That means that what you're earning and what you have to pay do not match at all. So somewhere or other, some of the savings will have to be found. And of course, bits of help in various areas are welcome. But they're not, just as you suggested earlier, universal. And people are going to be very dissatisfied in the year ahead. And it will mean for the Chancellor that if people do not go out and spend as much as they otherwise would, you have to rethink his growth forecast, for example, already reduced very substantially from 6% to 3.8% for this year. Will they have to be reduced even further? And if that is the case, then he's going to be collecting a lot less in tax as well. So he's got an incentive to ensure that people feel confident and they go out and spend. But we're actually seeing already consumer confidence decline.
Fascinating, isn't it? One would like to be a fly on the wall in the Treasury at the moment, figure out how they make these decisions. Vicky Pryce, thanks very much indeed for joining us this morning. Thank you. I mean, as Vicky said, that we're all going to notice it. It's just a question of who can afford to pay.
Yeah, everyone's going to feel the pinch.
I was doing some calculations last night on my... I took some pictures of... I know I'm a bit late. Actually, it's because I've been on holiday. But I should have done it a week ago or something. Taking a picture of the latest meter readings and then putting them up on the website, the energy provider website. I did that. I don't know what good it does, but at least I did it. But there's no doubt that it's already more expensive and it's going to go up, isn't it?
Well, that's the benefit, at least, of the smart meters. I've got a smart meter, and so it just pings it off every hour or something. It sends an automatic reading in, so at least you are being charged at the right tariff. Means I'm being charged more now. But
yeah, my son said to me, I think you probably need to look at your tariff. I thought, I don't even know where to start on that.
It's confused.
And a lot of people getting in touch saying, how do you get that sort of advice? There are various websites if you can get onto a laptop or something. The one that we were looking at was the one called Entitled To. Yeah. That's literally just the name of the website, Entitled To, and it's tells you basically what, at your age and everything else, you could be entitled to. The other one is Citizens Advice, and you can. They're usually in most high streets. You can get along to them for one-to-one help.
It was Linda who emailed in. Can commentators stop telling old people to check you're getting all the support you're entitled to? Old people often don't use technology. Who is helping them? Well, so it's not just technology, Linda. So it's the good old high street.
Yeah, and maybe we all have a responsibility, actually, if there is anyone older that you know or is in your family or something, to give them a bit of help, because it's very overwhelming at the moment.
Yeah, it is. And when you do start to look at it, very confusing.